So for those of you that don't know us, we are Dane and Stacey, or Danger and Stacey is what our channel is known as, not Daniger, which is what everybody seems to read it as.
Yeah.
My nickname has been Danger for most of my life, and so the spelling has just always been the way that we spell it on this channel, but that's sort of completely
It's a play on words.
That's completely besides the point.
Anyway, this video is going to be about our 6 months of traveling through Europe. So we got asked a lot of questions during our time there. So we opened it up to Instagram recently, just mentioning that we were going to do a Q&A, and we got some great questions through.
Yeah, I think it's a chance to give a lot of tips if you're planning on traveling to Europe, or you're just really curious to know what our experience was. And we do Q&A videos every now and then, because generally we do vlogs, as most of you guys watching this will know, and we have vlogged all of the countries that we'll probably reference, I imagine. So this is like a chance to sort of just recap all of our feelings, and it's quite convenient because maybe you'll notice from the backdrop, it doesn't look very European.
No, we're in Asia.
Cliffhanger. Oh, there's no cliffhanger now.
We probably should have talked that one through.
That's hilarious. All right, let's jump straight into the first questions anyway. This one came up quite often actually, is there anywhere that we didn't feel safe?
Yeah.
I think it's different for males and females, maybe a little bit as well.
I think so, definitely. For me, I think Athens. You probably feel the same way.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
We got into Athens quite late at night, and it was on us because we didn't pick maybe the best area to stay in.
I don't know if there is a good area in Athens at nighttime.
I'm not sure. We did do some research, but it just so happened that it was nighttime. There were a couple of things that popped up that made us feel a little bit uneasy.
There was a guy that followed us with our luggage as we're like on our phones, and I know that makes you look like a tourist, but when you don't know where you're going, you have to be like, quickly look, put the phone away and try and be confident.
Yeah.
And this guy followed us. He stopped when we stopped. He walked when we walked, and I had to like stop and like throw this guy some shade and just look at him like,
we know what's up.
We know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then eventually he went away.
I think that's the only time where I felt uneasy.
Yeah. Europe, including Eastern Europe, which will probably come up a lot, where it's just got this reputation. It's amazing, man.
I just think that you need to have common sense wherever you go.
Yeah. Very good point. That summarizes all of it. Lots of questions around transport and how easy it was to travel between countries by train, or another one, planes, trains, or buses. What did we use the most?
It was so easy to travel around Europe. We used all of those modes of
all
transport.
of the above.
But trains, probably our favourite.
Probably. You can walk, it's comfortable, and you can walk between carriages. So you've got like freedom at the same time as going really fast and seeing a lot.
Also scenery, yeah.
So probably trains, but it's just super easy. We're from New Zealand. Like anything is easy compared to New Zealand.
True.
If you can spend an hour and go across a border to a new country, we're just like
mind blown.
Mind blown. You'll love it. I like this question. Where were the friendliest people?
Croatia, I think. People were friendly all over.
I think you're right, actually, Croatia.
But yeah, Croatia stood out to us, I think.
And there was a little bit of contrast to coming east, where service is a little bit more, a bit edgier, I suppose.
Yeah.
And whereas Croatians, it just seems like everything with a smile, man. They're just happy people.
They're happy people, yeah.
Yeah, and they want to chat. Well, that's always cool when you've just like, you can just have a conversation, and they're willing to really like go out of their way to help you. Means a lot. Where was the best value for money? Doesn't really specify city or country.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a country, and I'm going to say Bulgaria. I just remember sitting in a really touristy area in Plovdiv in Bulgaria and ordering a beer, and I think it was...
Where was this?
In Plovdiv. We went to the old ruins.
The amphitheater type situation, yeah.
And we were sitting down literally right outside. No like tourist tax, no hidden fees, no nothing. And it was between $1 and $2 for a beer or something, and it was...
Yeah.
That was a moment that I remember being like, wow, this is
we're
good value.
in a tourist spot where you expect to pay more. Yeah, I think actually thinking about that, Sofia was more expensive than Plovdiv in Bulgaria.
Yeah, but I think as a whole, accommodation, transport, food, all of that in Bulgaria was decent pricing as a tourist.
Yo, he's so big, he's gone. He's up there.
Where?
He's miles away over there now. There is these enormous bumble-looking bee things like...
You're not recording.
I am recording this.
Is it back?
Whoa, he's so big. Looks like a plane in the sky. So this question sort of phrased in two. Where didn't live up to expectations and where over-delivered on expectations?
So I just want to say, before we begin, this is personal preference. There's no disrespect to the people of these countries or these countries in general.
Disclaimer.
Haters, get out of here. Okay, under-delivered for me was Prague. Beautiful place, no doubt about that. Absolute
like a
fairy
Disney,
tale. But the amount of tourists and people that were there when we were there was too much for me.
And the hustle from the locals as well, because of all of those tourists.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Over-delivered Krakow and Poland.
Yeah, great choice. Still in mind.
Did not expect it to be as amazing as it was. So much to do. Amazing people, great value.
Yeah, we've probably had the most questions and like messages from people that are going on like stag do's or away with their family, or just a getaway, from people saying like, we've just been to Krakow, or we're going to Krakow and we've used your videos and they were so helpful, and we love getting those messages. Send us more of those. For me, under-delivered, probably Bucharest and Romania. No reflection on Romania, because sadly we only went to Bucharest and our friends went further. They went out to the countryside and they were like, it is amazing, you've got to do it. So we wish we'd seen more, but Bucharest is just like really rough around the edges, but there's some cool stuff there as well. Over-delivered, ooh, I'm on the spot here. Just going back to the being able to cross the border, the fact that we went from Zagreb to Ljubljana in Slovenia and just had the most sick 2-day, like just a weekend, and that place was amazing.
Stunning.
I would go back and explore more of Slovenia because of that like sneak peek that we got. Speaking of going back, are you going back to Europe again?
Yes.
100%. If you haven't figured out already from watching our vlogs, we chase the seasons, we chase the sun, and the last videos you would have seen would be what? England, Ireland, and Spain.
No sun.
Not a hell of a lot of sun up in there, which is why we're back in Asia. So next year, 100%, we'll be chasing the sun and trying some new spots as well. We'll try and quick fire a couple of like really helpful tips. So SIM cards came up often.
Yeah, we just got ours in London and used roaming all throughout Europe.
Yeah, so roaming in Europe is great, but we found often that we only generally get a month, and often you get stuck on 3G, and it's so much cheaper in a lot of situations to buy them in the local country. So when that ran out, we would just buy the local one, and you get so much more data doing it that way, and you get 4G. Visas.
They vary depending on. I don't even know how to tackle.
You just have to check what's Schengen. Well, okay, this is pretty generic, but you have to, for the most part, check for us anyway, what is Schengen and what's not Schengen, and you only get 90 days within a 180-day period. There's apps that you can download and websites that you can use to put in your in points and your out points, and then you just work out how long you have over that period and how long you want to stay. And then we were tactically going in, some of you guys noticed that we were going into Schengen, then out of Schengen, then into Schengen, then out of Schengen, which would allow us to spend 6 months, and like highly recommend that. Places like Bulgaria are not Schengen, so you can go and explore, and you're buying your time. Communication, how easy was communication? Or how was it, was the general question.
It was easy, it was good. I mean, as long as, I think it's respectful to learn maybe 2 or 3 phrases where you can. Please, thank you, hello.
Thank you for sure, yeah.
But we found it reasonably easy.
Got lots of questions about an app that we were using on my phone that you could like hover over an image and it would translate like live in the photo. It's mind trippy stuff. It's really cool. It's just the Google Translate app has an image setting in it, so download that. How do we keep muscles while traveling?
This one's clearly about me.
Two tickets
directed
right there.
At me. How do I keep my muscles? I think it's mostly just by danger keeping me in line. Don't eat too much pizza and beer.
We do that all the time.
Because we do that all the time. It's just about balance, really.
80-20. 80% of the time we try and be good. The vlogs probably only make up 20% of our real life, and that's when we go and have the beers.
That's when we have the treats, and everyone's like, how do you survive on this diet?
We sometimes do day in the life videos that we share a little bit more of the behind the scenes of what we're actually eating and stuff. But sometimes we buy protein powder. When we stay somewhere longer, like we did in Krakow and Zagreb, and I've lost track of other places, in Sofia, and Plovdiv, we go to the gym. We just pick up a local membership and just do what we can. So it's just about like maintenance and just making the best decisions we can. Now I sound like a coach, so let's move on to the one. Tons of questions and so much interest in Greece and Croatia in particular, which are just like these main tourist destinations.
Hotspots, aren't they?
One of the ones was, what was the company you did the sailing in Croatia with? The company is called Sail Croatia.
It's an easy one to remember.
It's an easy one to remember. Is Santorini, Greece worth visiting?
I think so. we're probably a little bit biased because my sister got married there, which was beautiful. But what surprised us, or me, was Mykonos. I really enjoyed Mykonos, and I didn't expect to.
As much as we did. It depends on your situation. If you so for us, that was almost like a holiday, which was you would have seen like we were staying in these massive villas, hanging out with family and stuff. So it's it is different. So if you're going there on a holiday, 100%. If you're slow traveling, if you're an expat, if you're a nomad, full-time traveler, yes, but just really, really pricey.
Prepare yourself for a lot of people in the high season and, you know, high pricing that goes
like,
with it.
Astonishingly beautiful.
Unlike anywhere else I've ever seen.
And our favorite place in Croatia?
The sea.
By the sea. So Zagreb.
Being on the boat.
Zagreb is, anyone who's watching our video, you'd pick up, we loved Zagreb. It was so underrated and such a great spot. But we love the sea. So Split, Dubrovnik, they were all nice but very, Makarska maybe?
I think Makarska was, because maybe it's a little bit more underrated than Split, Dubrovnik, the ones you mentioned. There were less people, it's beautiful.
It looks like you could have more of a local experience and then come down into that tourist spot and the cliff faces.
Oh yeah.
Got asked about airlines as well. What was the main airlines that we used? And they talked about service and stuff like that, but I don't really think that's a thing. So traveling in Europe can be really cheap, like we've mentioned, but we often used Wizz,
Ryanair and EasyJet. The budget ones.
They are budget airlines, and the thing is they get you from A to B, but the tip that we have is, I mean, if you want more luxury, pay for it, enjoy yourself, have fun. If you just want to get from A to B, stick with one of those guys. The tip that we have is read the T's and C's.
Yes, don't get tripped up when you're there because it will cost you a lot of money.
So that's
by there I mean the airport.
Yeah, that's true. So generally that means checking in advance, having your print out your boarding pass or your code or whatever on your phone and already checked in, reading the baggage. Yeah, how much weight are you allowed to check in? What's the size that you're allowed to check in, and how many items can you bring on? Because they do this like 2-pass priority, 2-bag thing, and you need to use that to your advantage, basically.
Just prepare in advance and you'll be absolutely fine.
We've talked about price a little bit because it has come up so frequently. Really quickly, cost of living came up very often as well. So if you haven't watched our vlogs before, we always show prices of like the beer and pizza that we reference. Just day-to-day stuff is always in there, and then we do wrap-up videos when we've spent a little bit longer, generally a month in a place. But maybe the last one that we should finish up on is the main difference between Western and Eastern Europe.
There's a lot.
There's people are scared of Eastern Europe. It's got this reputation and it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, there's
Which is
no
why
reason.
We wanted to explore it.
Yeah, I think the main difference for me is not scary at all, but is the architecture is completely different. Like you think about communist blocks and things like that in Eastern Europe versus Western Europe. That stood out to me.
Yeah. It's probably not as polished. It's not as prepared for tourism, which we think is a real advantage to go and check it out now, while a lot of these countries that we visited, a lot of these cities are just like, they've got all of the same stuff to offer. There's just not as many cafes or as many bars, but they still have all that cool stuff. We hunted it everywhere. And it's just, to summarize, rougher around the edges.
But nothing to be afraid of. I think
it's not scary. Some graffiti doesn't mean you're going to get stabbed.
And on that note, should we wrap this up?
I feel like we should wrap that up. That's probably the best that we can do. Stay tuned. We are back in Asia, so we're going to have some cool videos coming from here very shortly. I think that's probably about as much as we can share. Let us know in the comments below if you have any more questions.
But thank you so much for watching.
Catch you in the comments.
Bye.
Bye.